Good morning, Third Church family. We have some important information to share, and we want to invite you on a journey as we look at three things: where we as a church have been, where we are now, and where we believe God is leading us in the future.
We have a rich 154-year history and have seen God's faithfulness in growing our church family from 75 members in 1868 to 450 members in 1991 and to our 2,800 members today, with over 4,500 people attending our services throughout the year. Sunday mornings are generationally rich, with up to 4 generations worshiping together. It's a beautiful picture to see believers from all generations working together for God's kingdom purposes, putting aside our personal preferences for the greater good of the whole Third Church community. Each generation brings much needed perspective, wisdom, and joy to the journey toward God's heart and purpose. Pause with me on that for just a moment, to think not only about the richness of this journey, but also the grace, openness, and acceptance of the change each generation has extended throughout the history of our church. We are grateful for the generosity of our congregation over the years and how the Holy Spirit has worked through many members, attenders, and our staff to bring opportunities to minister to those in Pella, Central Iowa, and beyond.
Over the last 15 years, we have been in a season of transition as we work to partner with the Holy Spirit in new things. One transition was the movement out of debt to the next chapter of extravagant generosity of ministries around the world. The stories of how God has not only leveraged the funds you have given, but multiplied them in so many ways here in the U.S., Africa, Asia, the Caribbean, Mexico, and the Middle East have been incredibly uplifting and encouraging. Lives are being transformed around the world through so many amazing people and organizations. Another intentional, long-term focused transition was out of the RCA and into the Sending Network. This process was discerned and planned for over a decade as we became less aligned with where the RCA was heading as we sought God's leading for the future of Third Church. As many of you know, after much prayer and discernment, we voted with 99% approval to leave the RCA in 2022 and join the Sending Network. We are a grateful partner with a growing number of churches to minister in Southeast Iowa. As our church was blessed with growth in the 90s and early 2000s, the consistory leadership knew the old style of church leadership would need to change to allow for the new things that God was up to in our community of believers. While we don't have time to unpack all those changes now, we do want to talk briefly about our leadership structure, as it is an important part of our announcement today.
The Executive Board develops the ends policy of the church and monitors staff activity through monthly meetings and monitoring reports, using the Korver governance model. This governance process was rolled out from 2004 to 2006 and helped streamline our leadership. In this structure, there are 3 executive leaders on staff, with 1 reporting to the Executive Board, the senior pastor. The 3 executive leaders work with the staff to make day-to-day ministry decisions and provide various monitoring reports to the board for accountability. However, the Executive Board is required under our current policies to approve a few items, such as going into debt, buying land, and spending benevolence funds, to mention a few. This structure provides efficiency in decision-making and strong oversight. When this structure was put into motion in 2006, Pastor Kevin Korver, Dan Sorensen, and Jason Nelson were the 3 executive leaders on staff. They were non-voting members of the Executive Board, but led the church. Keith Korver eventually took Jason's spot when Jason started a church in Chicago, and Katie took Keith's place 2 years ago as Keith moved into further developing our leadership training curriculum. In 2022, Darren Wogan came to Third to backfill Dan Sorensen's role as Dan transitioned into retirement. Given the size of our church and its weekly needs for pastoral care, programs, ministries, and more, this has been a great model of leadership. It has allowed Darren and Katie, like Dan, Keith, and Jason before them, to run the church while Kevin focuses on intercession, encouragement, culture creation, vision, and effective communication of the gospel and worship services. As we look at where we are on the Third Church journey, God has been and is preparing us for a new season. It has become more evident to us as leaders, and to many of you, that new things have begun to happen. Some of those we have mentioned, but other opportunities include worship throughout the week, live streaming worship services, and the new mission, vision, and values work that is in motion. It is an exciting time to be part of God's church.
As with any journey, planning and preparation is key. And today we want to talk to you about changes to this leadership team as we look toward Kevin's retirement at the end of 2024 when he turns 70. For those of you who have attended regularly, you know that Kevin has mentioned this transition for a couple of years, but now it will be public knowledge. Knowing this day would come, as it does for all pastors, planning has been taken very seriously. In 2012, the Executive Board commissioned a team of individuals to put together a model for the senior pastor transition. This model included a prayer team who prayed continually for the Executive Board, moving pastoral care responsibilities and weddings to others, and lessening Kevin's preaching time from 48 Sundays a year to now around 25 a year. The team also determined that we should use a biblical model of Moses and Joshua's transition, so a policy and process was set in motion to put together a list of potential senior pastor candidates, which at the time had 33 individuals on it. Over the last decade, the Executive Board reviewed the list with Kevin on an annual basis as a way to evaluate potential candidates, plant seeds, and pray for God's leading as they discussed his retirement timeline. In addition, some of you know that we have been working with an outside firm, Exano, on updating our mission, values, and strategy for the future. We have also leveraged this firm to help benchmark leadership structures of churches across the United States, as they have worked with over 2,000 churches of various sizes over the last 15 plus years.
As we look to the future and prepare for a change in leadership, we are mindful of the changing dynamics of a large church and pastoral needs. While we cannot convey everything in a short video, we hope you sense the intentionality of the Executive Boards, past and present, as they have been planning for this transition. Many individuals have been prayed for, mentored, vetted, and/or interviewed. And from the original list of 33, Katie Peterson, Darren Wogan, and Clayton Korver have been selected to head up the 3 key leadership positions within our church staff. All 3 of these individuals are ministers of Word and Spirit, pastors in the Sending Network, and were pastors in the RCA before Third's departure. Each of them have unique gifts and ministry callings, which are important to note as we talk about our future. Katie has over 2 decades of discipleship and ministry experience serving here at Third. She has built a network of partnerships around the U.S. through these experiences and her leadership. In addition to being a minister of Word and Spirit in the Sending Network, she also has a certification in family ministry. Katie has a deep passion for the Lord and His people. She is grateful for the opportunities to journey with the Third Church family from womb to tomb. Katie is married to Jesse and has 3 kids, Braden, Annika, and Jace.
Clayton spent many years at Third watching and learning from who his dad was on Sunday and throughout the rest of the week, along with mentoring of his mom, Lane, and his 3 brothers. He spent a decade in the nonprofit sector after his time at Drake University before moving into ministry at Celebrate Church in Knoxville, where he became a commissioned pastor in the RCA. He took a role here at Third in 2020 and has been given increasing levels of responsibility for our hospitality, outreach, groups, and podcast ministries, as well as additional time preaching over the last 18 months. In addition, he and his wife Kelly have completed many external assessments and coaching sessions to understand areas of strength and growth in their ministry together. Clayton and Kelly have 2 daughters, Kai and Coda, and love the Third Church family deeply. Darren began attending Third in 1999 and has served in children's ministry, youth ministry, on the worship team, in the role of deacon and elder, as well as preaching, teaching classes, and volunteering. He became a commissioned pastor in 2017 and was on the team that created the senior pastor transition model back in 2012. In April of 2022, Darren joined the Third Church staff after 25 years of leading teams in finance, information technology, sales, marketing, and corporate development at Honeywell and Peller Corporation. He is a committed learner with a fun-loving demeanor that has been leveraged to help create collaborative teams with high levels of engagement throughout his career. His wife, Michelle, is a lifelong member of Third, and they have a son, Drew, and a daughter, Allie. Darren is thankful for all the members of Third who have invested in him over the last 24 years.
We have had a 3-leader model in place since 2006, and we'll be making a few tweaks based on what we have learned and seen from other churches to allow a more effective split of responsibilities. With this all as background, today we want to announce the following. Clayton Korver will become the lead pastor of teaching and vision. In this role, he will have responsibilities for the worship team, the pastoral care teams, as well as preach around 40 weeks out of the year, primarily in the sanctuary. Katie Peterson will become the lead pastor of discipleship and Next Gen ministries. In this role, she will have responsibilities for all Next Generation ministries, from birth through high school, adult discipleship, as well as prayer and outreach ministries. Given her team's weekly responsibilities, she will preach 4 to 6 times a year, again, primarily in the sanctuary. Darren Wogan will become the lead pastor of strategy and alignment. In this role, he will have responsibilities for Third Church strategy, communications and marketing, finance, IT, HR, and facilities. Darren will preach 10 to 12 times per year, primarily in the sanctuary. In addition, he will take on the role of CEO of the consistory that Kevin has held and be the only employee reporting to the executive board. Pastor Kevin will be retiring from Third Church in December of 2024, just a little over a year from now, but we will begin transitioning the new leadership team this coming January. This will allow Kevin time to focus on mentoring and coaching these individuals before his retirement. Kevin will remain on the executive board as we move throughout his last year on staff and continue to invest in many church leaders across the Sending Network and other churches in the Pella area. Staff members will start to work with their new leaders next month with a new organizational structure taking full effect on January 1 of 2024. Having 3 lead pastors creates a healthy spread across each ministry while leveraging their unique giftings. Pastor Darren, Pastor Katie, and Pastor Clayton will work together, as others have since 2006, to make decisions. However, in a church our size, with multiple lead pastors, in order to have a healthy ministry model, we need one final decision maker, and that will be Pastor Darren. We are grateful for Pastor Kevin and Lane, their model of leadership, and for finishing well. They have invested in so many of us over the last 30 years, and we will celebrate that later in 2024. We are grateful for how this transition has come together and are excited about what the future holds. We understand that people may have questions or want to talk more about these changes. So, next Sunday, September 24, the executive board members, Katie, Clayton, and Darren, will be available from 9 to 11:30 in the chapel to answer questions and discuss. Thank you, Third Church family.